everyone, and welcome to part 2 of our how to remove red eye from photographs tutorials. In the last section we went through how to remove red eye using Windows Live Photo Gallery, and this time around we are going to be using Photoshop. Photoshop is a very robust professional grade image editing software. It's available at adobe.com. There's a free trial that you can download for a month, and you can purchase it from there if you think it is a program that is good for you. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Photoshop. I'm using version CS3. That's how I learned how to do this method. I would imagine that versions ahead of CS3, this technique should work. However, I can't say for sure or not, but I'm pretty confident that it would. So let's go over the interface a little bit. Over here, this main gray section obviously is where our photograph is going to be sitting, so we can look at it and monitor it as we're making changes to it. This little panel over here on the left is kind of our tools panel. It is quick, easy access to a lot of the more popular Photoshop tools. And every little box that has a little black triangle in the corner, you can hold down the left mouse button and it'll give you some additional options. That's just about every button on here. Tools like move, marquee selection, lasso selection, paintbrush, clone stamp, eraser, all of the prominent Photoshop functions are right there. Over here on the right is our navigator section. There's a few other tabs. We're not going to get into those right now. But the navigator is just a preview of your image. You can use it if you're zoomed in really far to your image and you're kind of lost as to where you are. It's a good way to figure out exactly what part of the image you're at so you don't get lost. And down here, lastly, is the layers browser, I like to call it. This lists all the layers that you make, and sometimes with more complex photos you'll have dozens of layers and you need some method of keeping them all straight. And layers allow you to make adjustments and changes to the image without affecting the source image, so it's really handy. So let's bring in our photograph here. As you can see, it is the photo that we used last time. It's a really good example of red eye and how to manage it. As you can see, things changed a little bit. Over here in our navigator, we have this red box around our image. This is the view of your picture. This is what you're looking at. So I'm going to move the zoom slider a little bit, and all of a sudden the red box changes, and it's in line with what I'm viewing in our gray image space. So it's just again another way to help you move around and figure out where you are in your image in case you have a really large complex image and you're zoomed in doing details or something and you get lost. It's a good way to figure out where you are. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to add a mask on top, a mask layer on top of our background. And what that is going to do, when we add this mask, we are going to add certain color values to that layer. So in this case, for example, we want to get rid of this red eye that we have going on. So by adding this mask, what we can do is we can make it so that any information that passes through that mask, the red information of the image is lost. Now, that might scare you into saying, well, there's lots of red. Her skin's red. Obviously, her eyes are red. So how are we going to manage that? We're going to manage that by making very specific dimensions to the mask. So it's kind of like holding a stencil over an image. So only certain parts of that image are going to be affected by our mask. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to add a new color adjustment layer. So there's a couple different ways to do this. We can go up to layer at the top and then come down to new adjustment layer and channel mixer. That's what's going to give us our color editing abilities. So you can go ahead and do it. If you clicked on this, another layer would show up in the layer browser. I'm going to show you another way quick though. This little black and white button down at the bottom of the layer browser, the tooltip says create new fill or adjustment layer. And here is the same list of layers that we just saw. So I'm going to hit channel mixer. This is going to bring up a dialog box about the percentage of red, green, and blue values that those are your primary color channels for images. So we have red at 100%. Well, we don't really want 100%. I'm going to adjust it to 0. Now you'll see that changes the image, but you see all the red is gone. Obviously, there's an issue with the rest of the picture being green. So we're going to hit tab and hit 50. Hit tab again, go to blue, hit 50. And then I'm going to hit OK. So now most of the color is gone from our image. It's essentially a black and white image. Now, again, an important part is this white box next to the channel mixer layer. This, whatever is white, represents where the mask is actually having an effect on the image. In this case, it's fully white. Our total image is being affected by this mask. So what we want to do is we want to change that and narrow it down to just the pupils of the eye. So I'm going to come over here to our tools panel, and there's a white box and a black box. Now, in some cases, the white box might be on top. In some cases, the black box might be on top. Excuse me. We want the black box on top. So if the box looks like this, go ahead and click this little arrow, which swaps the background and foreground colors. We want it to be black because black in a mask represents nothing, an absence. It's 0. So we're going to hit Alt Backspace. That's going. Notice that our little box here changed from white to black, and that color adjustment layer went away. It didn't go away. It's still there, but because we changed the entirety of the mask to black, it's not having an effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our paintbrush tool and we are going to paint an area white on this mask, which will then engage the properties of that mask. I hope that makes sense. It's about the best way I can find to explain it. So we're going to go over to paintbrush, brush tool on the tools panel. I had my brush pretty large from a different tutorial. A lot of times it'll be set way down to, I believe 13 is the typical default brush size. Now that's really small for the size of the image that we want to work with. You could try to hand paint 12 or 13 pixels at a time and fill in the pupil space to get rid of the red. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go up to the brush kind of details pane right here, and this little dialog box is the brush size and the brush kind of layout. There's a ton of different brush options in here by default. You can create your own brushes, but it's not something we're going to worry about right now. So I'm going to go all the way up, something pretty big. Okay, see now my brush would cover essentially her entire eye, and that would work, but that would also remove the color from her iris, and I kind of want that to stay in there, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit. That's a little small. We'll go up to 106. That 106 sounds good. Okay. And then I'm just going to click once. Oh, see, now I made a mistake. This is a perfect example. When I swapped the background and foreground color to black, I left it black, so I can paint all over. I'm painting technically all over this image on the mask, but I am painting black, which the entire image is already black, so it would be like painting over a black spot on a piece of paper with a black marker. You're still painting, but nothing is really happening. So I'm going to press this little swap button and move back to white. And I'm going to go back to my pupil here, try to line it up right there. That's pretty good, but as you can see, we get a little bit right here, so I'm going to try to get rid of that a little more. Alright, there we go. So there's one eye down, and I'm not sure if you can see this on the screen, but there's a tiny little white dot inside of that black space on the channel mixer layer, and that white again represents that the effects of the mask are happening because we painted a white spot. So that is where kind of the information of that stencil is allowed to get through. So I'm going to do this again on this eye if I can get it lined up the way I want to. Ooh, that was a good one. I think that'll work. Okay, and that is it. If you notice, there's another little white circle there. So what we've done is we've essentially put a layer on top of our image, given it a certain set of properties to not allow very much, if any, red data through, and then we basically turn it invisible, and then we kind of painted in the parts that we wanted it to be used on. And in this case, it's the pupils, and it had a really good effect. It's awesome. It looks great, actually. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to File, Save As, boldredeye.psd. We're going to want to save it as a JPEG. I'm going to save it to the desktop. Those settings will work. Minimize that, and there's our image all ready to go. And you can upload to Facebook or do whatever you want. So that is the Photoshop tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this set of tutorials about how to remove red eye. It was a pleasure to do it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.